you. Come on in. Welcome to the Scumm Bar. Welcome to the Scumm Bar Podcast, episode 80, where we talk movies, video games, pop culture, books, Ron Weasley, and everything in between. I am your host, Mattbrush, and with me today is Ron Weasley himself.
Ron Weasley!
It's been a while since I've done that. I couldn't really hit it today.
I can never hit it. It's too high for me.
I'm feeling tired. You're
feeling toit. Like a
I'm
toy
feeling
gun.
toyered. I'm just feeling toyered like a toyer.
Aw,
Be sure to check out the Marvel Movie Marathon, where Anth0z and I go over the 22 films in the first 3 phases of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. If you haven't already checked it out, check it out. We just did the Black Panther episode,
Blick.
and it's going to be releasing next Friday. Black Panther.
Blick and then take a nap. Because we are 80 and tired.
Tired. Yeah, episode 88. Holy cannolis. Remember when we started this thing back in 1994? It's been a long time.
Back at episode 79. Oh, jeez. we just skipped 1 through 78 just to make it seem like we had gone like really far into the podcast. And we were really popular.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. We used to crank these things out like every week. We'd go on the regular episodes here, but then now that we got the Marvel Movie Marathon thing going, it's like back and forth. So this number goes up slower, but it's like, God, 80. It just sounds like so daunting. It's like 80 episodes. Where's the time gone?
Well, okay, if this is our 80th episode and we've recorded 17 of the MCU ones, this will be our 97th episode that we've actually recorded.
Yeah, I know.
Right? Wow, that's weird.
And on that note, I don't know, at the time of this recording, it might be true. We're very close to 1,000 listens, which is pretty crazy.
Ooh.
So you've had 1,000 listens
per video, right? Per podcast.
Oh yeah,
per episode.
Exactly. We're almost at an average rate of 1,000 per podcast episode. So I'll take the moment to just say thank you all so very much. We really appreciate the feedback and everything from every single one of you that gives us feedback.
Yes, thank you.
But yeah, we wouldn't. No, we would do this without you. Unfortunately, I would still do this without you.
We're not doing this for them. We're doing it for us.
But
we're letting them hear that we're doing it for us.
It is crazy to see our milestones though sometimes, and 1,000 listens is amazing. But also the fact that we're on episode 80 is just amazing as well. So
yeah, oh boy,
it's cool that we're here. Anth0z,
yes.
What's new with you?
Well, what is new with me? What are we doing? This is the I don't know. When's the last time we had one of these episodes where it wasn't a Marvel episode? Because I feel like
last week or 2 weeks ago, I guess.
Did we? Oh, we did have one 2 weeks ago. When
we did Mandalorian.
That's right.
But
okay.
you're right. When did we not talk about Disney? It's so funny. We now have a day where we just don't have to talk about Disney for once. Like we can talk about whatever we want, and we're kind of floundering. Like, wait, what do we want to talk about?
Yeah, like what do our lives revolve around otherwise like than this podcast? Maybe. We've been cleaning. My wife and myself have been cleaning the house to prepare for the baby.
Ooh.
I'm not sure. Wait, have I announced that we're pregnant?
I don't think you have.
Ooh. Well, hey everybody, we're pregnant.
Anth0z and I are pregnant.
Yes. We have a scum baby coming.
Oh, well, officially, congratulations. This is the first time it's come out on the podcast, but yes, congrats.
Thank you.
There's a baby Anth0z on the way.
It's
like a baby Yoda.
That's scary, but let's hope that our baby is more like my wife than myself. Otherwise,
let's hope it's a perfect blend of the two of you.
It's okay. I'm just gonna mention
the sweet and sour.
And okay, my wife has always. She's gonna kill me for saying this. She's always been worried, and this is gonna be immortalized, that because she did a face swap of our faces like years back, and it was like the most horrifying thing to her.
Oh no.
That kind of made her not want to have a baby because she thought our baby would be super ugly, looking like our face swap. She could probably hear me saying this right now. I'm surprised she's not coming in. But anyway.
You guys are fine. It's going to look
I'm not worried.
Just like every other baby.
I'm
beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I get that people say that, you know, babies when they're first born, they're just extremely ugly and pruny, and like what are they? But I think overall, you know, their proportions and their shape and everything.
Oh, they're pudgy little guys. They're cute.
They're little cuties.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely looking forward to that. We have some learning to do. I've been trying to listen to a podcast about what to expect and what to prepare.
What to expect when you're expecting?
Exactly. Yeah. I feel like the podcast is just called Pregnancy. Something. It's a minimalist one.
Those weirdos. You gotta name it something cool, like the Scumm podcast.
Yeah. Like what is that even?
Yeah.
So yeah, just try to be a little bit proactive in terms of getting prepared, not just for like the labor part, like the delivery part, but also, you know, what comes after. So, you know, we're accumulating some baby products now, and trying to figure out, you know, what other people would recommend in terms of products and where to get our information. And yeah, so that's new.
That's probably the biggest news we've ever had on our What's New With You. So that is incredible. So. That's amazing.
Yeah, all right.
We're going to be having a new addition to the Scumm podcast family.
We're going to have a guest speaker.
Oh, yeah.
By the name of Baby. Oh, and I'll mention now our baby's name for now, while they are I was going to say baking. That's not. They're not, no. So the baby's name is Peanut for now.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Just while they're incubating.
Yep.
Yeah. So Peanut's coming.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. And obviously when time comes down to it and you need some time off, if we are taking any kind of time off on episodes, there'll be a good reason behind it, and now you know why. So.
Yeah, I have a feeling when baby comes, there are going to be a lot of halts in life in all aspects.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So be prepared for that. It's coming down the pipeline. So I might just have to imitate Anth0z on a few episodes here. So
yeah. Well, you know what we can do? I can just record myself.
Oh, pre-recorded, yeah.
Yeah, record myself, like, after this episode. I'll record myself from the moment we finish all the way until my wife delivers. Perfect. And then you just have all those sound bites to use. You should
just do a bunch of pre-recorded responses of just typical Anth0z sound bites.
I'll talk to myself. I'll say something. I'll ask myself a question and I'll answer it. But I'll answer in variations just so that you have the choice to pick, like, which story should we go with this Anth0z scenario? And yeah, it'll be fun.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. That works. That works well for me. I'll do that.
Great. Perfect.
I'm gonna forfeit my What's New With Me section to go with this gift. I've got this gift here. A friend of mine just dropped this off just before we started recording. I haven't opened the gift yet. I don't know what it is, but I think it's D&D related.
It's a bag.
This is a bag. This is a nice gold bag. Yeah. I think this gift is gonna be D&D related because we have a D&D group, so I think that's where we're going with this. But we'll see. So, anyways, I'm going to open it up on the podcast, so that'll be kind of fun. So, here we go.
Cool. All right.
This isn't even paper. This is a plastic bag.
Wow.
That is how we do it here on the island.
That's innovative.
Oh, wow. And that was it. That was all there was for wrapping.
But you know what? Like, it's not just the look of it, but the sound. It sounds like tissue.
Oh, yeah.
So that's perfect. And it's reusable. You can use it.
Is this good ASMR for the podcast, by the way?
Yeah.
The bag has this paper.
I'm a plastic bag.
Anyways, here we go. This looks pretty awesome. It's oh my gosh! It's like a Stein. Oh, it's got my name on it.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
Actually, I saw part of it that had your name there. You didn't see because you turned it towards the camera. So look on the bottom side.
Oh wow! So for people at home, it's got my name Matthew on it. It's like a Stein, but it's like wood grain Stein.
That's cool. It kind of looks like a mini, like a barrel.
Yeah, it looks like a keg.
Yeah.
Sorry, like a barrel, like an old cask, I guess is what I meant to say. And my character in D&D is a bard, so it's perfect that I've got my bard's kind of
that's cool.
It mandolin or what was this called? Ukulele
banjo?
Or something. Banjo. I don't know. It's a musical instrument.
What does what do you say your character is?
What does a bard? He's a bard.
I feel like they play a lute. Is it not a lute?
Well, you as a bard, you kind of pick your instruments, and currently I only play a flute, actually.
What instrument?
But eventually I want to play a guitar in the D&D campaign.
No, it is a lute. Yeah. The bard the instrument that a bard plays is called a lute. I was right.
Oh, I'm sorry. You mean a
lute.
bard in real life? Let's talk about like a bard in D&D. But yeah, you're right. A bard.
Oh, sorry. Wait,
yes.
what?
Yeah.
Wait, what's a bard in D&D?
In D&D, like a bard is one of the classes you can play as.
Oh, and
So
it's not
a
the same
bard
kind
is-
of bard like a real life bard.
Well, it is. It's just that you choose your instruments that you play as a bard. It just means you use music and
I see.
sound for all your magic.
I see. I
Yeah.
see.
Anyways, that's a really, really awesome gift. So
That is
I'm
really
stoked
cool.
with that. That is cool. Let's see if we can get some sound on here.
More
That's
ASMR.
the sound of me knocking it. Yeah, there we go. There's some ASMR for you guys. There. Oh, drinking out of it. Beautiful.
I love. So I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I love associative gifts.
Oh yeah.
So what I mean is, yeah, like this gift is like it's associated with the fact that you play D&D, and so every time, like if I were you, every time I play D&D, I would strictly, explicitly, exclusively
this.
use
Yeah.
that, and I would
Not
not
only that,
ever want to use anything else.
It's so comically large. It will never go in a cupboard. There's no
great.
way my fiance is going to let this go in a cupboard, so it will have to stay at my desk.
Yes.
So it's perfect.
Perfect.
So-
Yeah.
All right. So it's gonna be another trinket on my desk. So I like it.
Nice. That's a good gift.
Cool. Yeah. So that's what's new with me. I guess I got that gift.
Good job, gifter.
Anth0z, let's move into something I like to call ye old news.
Oh, dear.
The newsiest of all the news. So in here, we're going to go into my first news, which I'm going to say is fairly large, I guess.
Okay.
LucasArts, or LucasFilm Games, as it's called now, is back. It's now a back property.
It's big.
It's big, and it's a property that is working, and they are working with the company Ubisoft to make a new Star Wars game, which is really funny because it's always been EA Games that's working on Star Wars. Well, it looks like now that Lucasfilm Games is now a whole conglomerate, they're able to send out their games to other publishers, which is similar to what Marvel did when they made Spider-Man on the PlayStation, and they did that with Insomniac Games.
Yeah.
So now Ubisoft has the rights to be able to work on a Star Wars game, and they're working on an open world Star Wars game, probably somewhere in the vein of something similar to Assassin's Creed or like Far Cry.
Cool.
So it could be really interesting. I don't know anything else more than that other than Ubisoft is working on it. So that's cool. Let's hope they don't screw it up, and I'm excited for it.
I'm curious to know what era they're going to be using because there's
Era.
there's ooh, that was good. Oh, nice. That was good. That was good. You should do more of that. There was there's been a lot of I think there's been a lot of talk recently about what the upcoming Star Wars movies are going to be, and they're like the story is going to be taking place way before anything that we've seen up until now, right? It's going to be like stuff where with the Knights of the Old, or not the Knight, but the Old Republic.
No Knights.
And
The days of the Old Republic.
The days of Wine and Roses and the Old Republic. Sorry, that's a song, The Days of Wine and Roses.
Okay.
Just for those who want to be cultured in the world of jazz. Yeah. So I think it would be kind of cool because we've seen a lot of characterizations for, or I guess we've seen a lot of games and movies obviously revolving around a lot of the same characters from the same era, more or less. And I think branching out into a new, because I think when you start working on a new game, or I should say when you bring out a game that is always all of a sudden touching on like a new aspect. So this one going to be open world because we haven't had open world Star Wars games before, right? If you that I can think of. But if you were to,
I'm sure there's some. Just on the top of my head, I actually can't think of any. So you might be right with that statement, but it feels like there's got to be at least one. I can't think of one off the top of my head.
well, I was thinking like Battlefront or something. It's not open world, but it's just like MMO, right?
No, at least not open world the way that we define open world these days, which is pretty much Grand Theft Auto clone, right? So.
Oh, I see. Well,
I can't think of a Star Wars game that works that way. So I think you are right. I mean, the Old Republic is probably the closest thing we've got to something similar to that.
Yeah. Well, I guess what I'm thinking is, a lot of people have so many qualms with any of the trilogies that once you start, if you do a game on one of those trilogies, it's going to be. I feel like it's going to be split down. Like people just like really hate the idea that we're seeing more of these characters, and then the other side, like I love having these characters like strictly just playing with them all like over and over again. But then if we're gonna move into new stories later on in the I was gonna say the MCU, in the SWCU, the Star Wars Cinematic Universe, that I think it would be a great opportunity to start branching out with new characters that we haven't seen, and that could be fun. But if not, I'm sure it'll be fun too.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well, we'll see what they do with it. Again, Ubisoft is not horrible with open world games, making Assassin's Creed and Far Cry. They've made a lot of money off of those too, but I found both those series to kind of not be very fun anymore. So hopefully Ubisoft doesn't start on that foot and they start on the old kind of Ubisoft foot with Star Wars. So we'll see.
It'll be strictly Yoda's. No other characters.
Just Yoda's race. Just all Yoda's race.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Baby Yoda sells. What if we made a game about that? Yeah. Just only Baby Yoda.
Yeah. And so far we have Yoda, we have Grogu, and then there's that like female Yoda that we saw in the High Council. Yondu.
Yondu. I'm Mary Poppins, yeah. All right. So
is it cool?
Oh, I'm sorry. What do you have for news?
Okay. Well, sure. Let's see. I saw something about Chris Evans and MCU, and apparently he's picking back up his Captain America cape. Not the shield,
cape or shield?
He gave that up. Nope, doesn't have the shield anymore.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
He gave that up to who? To who in Mattbrush? Who did he give the shield to?
We don't know yet.
We don't.
We don't know yet.
I see. Okay. We'll see in a few movies.
We'll have to see. We'll have to find out, won't we?
Yeah, and so will our audience when they listen to our Marvel movie marathon episodes. Aha! Yes. Plug.
Good plug. Plug it.
So yeah, I don't know. I think nothing has been confirmed, which is pretty much the case all the time until like a month before the movie releases.
Yeah.
That whether or not he's actually going to be involved and in what capacity. But I don't know. I would imagine that he might have probably still a little bit to do with. I kind of want to say WandaVision, because of how WandaVision is going so far. It just reminds me of what I remember reading about in the in House of M and like Civil War and stuff like that. So maybe it's that, or maybe he'll do some more. Maybe he'll be training in. He'll be training. Oh no, that wouldn't make sense. He's old. Well. Anyway,
we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. Yeah.
We'll have to see what happens.
Yeah.
But interesting. I hope they don't screw up how they left with that character, because I did enjoy kind of that aspect of it, and
like
I hope
you liked the closure that he had, or you didn't like it.
I am more on the side of liking what they did with him on the closure than not liking it, and I'd rather they don't flounder about and just make it worse by adding fluff afterwards,
Right. So it would make you be happier if they did stuff where it's more like prequel kind of thing, or not prequel, but like
yes, exactly.
Things that have already
anything that
place.
Doesn't harm the already pre-existing storyline. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. So in Cyberpunk news, because that's a new thing now. Cyberpunk, as we already know, has been a fairly broken game with its launch. We've already had long, expansive talks about this on our last podcast. You can listen to those if you want to hear our thoughts on it. There is now a new patch for Cyberpunk that came out. It is patch 1.1. It's making waves right now because it has fixed a lot of the Cyberpunk game. But unfortunately, and this is super unfortunate for the developers, the patch is having some issues. So here I've got a little statement. Quote, the first big patch for Cyberpunk 2077 was released late last week and brought with it a host of bug fixes and stability improvements. However, as Eurogamer reports, patch 1.1 also managed to introduce a new bug that prevents the main story from progressing.
Oh, jeez.
Unquote.
Whoa.
Yeah, there is apparently a storyline chapter scene, I guess, and I don't know much about the game, unfortunately, but there's a character that calls you on the phone, and they're about to give you a quest, and then you accept the quest. Well, they call you on the phone. I think the dialogue happens, and then the quest never pops up. And unfortunately,
so you're just on the phone, just kind of waiting.
Yes, and there's no way apparently to trigger the quest. So it has now broke the game from progressing. Now, what's crazy is it's not as bad as it sounds. It sounds really bad. It sounds really, really bad.
That sounds pretty bad.
But that's why it's making waves. The amount of people this will actually affect, I don't think will be that big.
Okay.
But unfortunately, the damage has already been done. So even if they patch this out with another patch that was only a couple megabytes, and it then released the moment after patch 1.1 came out, so let's call this 1.12 or something. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter because this is already the headline, and it just makes it so much worse. So people are now not going to even want to play because they're just worried that no matter what, the game is already broken. So
yeah, I wonder if this is going to be one of those bad publicity is good publicity. There's just so much talk revolving around Cyberpunk now after it's been released.
Well, it happened with No Man's Sky. I mean, that game, I was one of the people also who was on the bandwagon, who was really disappointed with that launch and was very vocal about it. And And that team turned it all around. They've been working on it the whole time. They just kept working really hard on that game, and now they've turned it all around. All the Steam reviews seem to be mixed to positive, and if not very positive from hardcore fans that really enjoy the experience now, because there's been so many updates that the game is just good. It's just a good game now because they actually had the time they needed to make it. So
nice. I'm wondering, is this a thing? Like, can you roll back video game versions? Because you can do that with like computers and like hardware and software, like drivers and stuff. And I guess
that comes into like an argument about like digital and physical, though. I guess like if you had a physical release of Cyberpunk, you could uninstall the game entirely, probably leave your saves, but uninstall the whole app of your game on your console, and then put the disc back in, and the disc will install based on the version number there.
Right, yeah. So because it wouldn't immediately, like, it wouldn't automatically update. Like, it prompts you to ask.
That is the problem with modern consoles, though. They do prompt a lot for saying like you don't have you won't have access to online features in a game if you are not on the latest version, and that's for hacking and security.
Right.
But unfortunately, that's also how they get you with updating all these patches and stuff too. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's really hard to play a game. Yeah, it's really hard to play a game now without an internet connection because of that very thing. It's just patching and upgrading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So that's news on Cyberpunk. What else you got?
Let's see. Well, so a couple things. This is, I think it's fairly new news, but the death of Larry King.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what was he? Age 87.
Unfortunately, Larry King's one of those people that I already think is dead a lot of the time. Because he just seems old every time I've ever seen him, and that means clips from like the 70s and clips from modern day. He just always looked old.
I think, he has always looked old to me, and but yeah, no, he's finally. Let's see, he's actually dealt with a number of issues.
Wow.
So yeah, late December he was hospitalized with COVID-19. I don't think it was necessarily that he died because of COVID-19, because he already had like tons of other health issues. And he had several heart attacks.
Wow.
He had quintuple bypass surgery. Ooh, that's crazy.
Oh.
Yeah, so he had some underlying things there, but what did I say? Was it 87? I think 87. Yeah, he was 87. So I never really watched him either, but I just knew him by kind of just like association of people ever just referencing things and referencing talk shows, and Larry King was generally one of those names, so I'm sure he'll be missed by a lot of people. I don't know why this prompted me, or if it did, but my next note is that Betty White is 99 years old. So I think she just turned 99 like a few days ago.
She is nuts. She just keeps on trucking.
And she looks the same all the time. Like ever since I first saw her on TV.
Good for her.
She's kind of like, she reminds me of, what's her name? Professor McGonagall. Who plays Professor McGonagall?
Maggie
Smith. Yeah. Because the first time I saw her was in Hook, and I swear she got younger by the time I saw her in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
So yeah. Whatever those ladies are drinking, I want that too.
Larry King, I'll always remember him as Doris in the Shrek movies. I don't know why. I don't know why he plays Doris, but he does. There's a man-woman in the Shrek series that is like a really funny, like ugly princess that just has this like male voice that's like, hey. It's like really deep, and it's Larry King, which is so funny. I don't know why he does the voice.
I see.
Yeah.
That's Doris. Okay.
It's just like a random fact that Larry King plays Doris, but it's just one of those things. So
it's funny. That it reminds me of Glenn Close in Hook, like playing. Playing that.
What? I was gonna ask you about that, by the way, because I never realized Glenn Close was in Hook at all until you mentioned it that one time on the podcast briefly. Mm-hmm. Then I watched that clip. That's a funny clip, and I love it. But I'm like, why is Glenn Close like randomly this small character in this movie?
For fun. I don't know. Maybe somebody owed her a favor.
I'm just searching up. Apparently, Glenn Close, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Phil Collins are all in Hook.
What?
So it must be like this hidden thing, like for fun, that they're just all there.
What? I wonder if they all were all maybe they're just like friends with Robin Williams or something, and they've
gotta be. It's a funny scene. I love that scene with Glenn Close.
Wait, Phil Collins in Hook. Wait, what? Inspector Good.
When they just start crying.
Oh, he's the inspector. Oh, wow. What the?
Yeah, crazy.
That's
We're gonna have to
random.
do a Hook deep dive when we eventually do a Hook movie podcast.
And then Gwyneth Paltrow in Hook. Who's? Oh, that's right. Yeah. She's. Oh, that. Wow. I think I realized that, and then I totally forgot because like she just looks so different when she's younger. When she's playing she's playing.
Okay, she's actually legitly in Hook. Okay, never mind. She's not like a hidden thing. I feel like Glenn Close is like a cameo for fun.
She plays Wendy Darling.
Wendy Darling. Jim Darling. Wendy Darling.
Hook Darling.
Hook Darling. Peter Darling.
Crocodile
anyways,
Darling.
let's move on.
Okay.
Okay, so Hitman 3 is a thing that launched. It's had a fairly good reception so far. I don't play the Hitman series all that much, although I have respect for it. A good friend of mine. Yeah, a good friend of mine. He loves the Hitman series. It's launched. Looks like it's doing good. People seem to be playing it a lot.
You're basically just like you're a hired gun, right? That's what you are.
Yep.
Is Hitman?
You're a Hitman.
Cool.
It's actually a pretty cool concept. From how I know about it, the level will play out, and it'll be, let's say, like an opera, and the person you're trying to kill is, let's say, a character in the opera, or maybe he's a person attending the opera, right? And so the level is all this predetermined like script that everyone is all playing out. All the NPCs and everything are all playing out in this level. So there is actually like an opera that's going to happen. All these NPCs are going to go and sit down and watch the opera. There's going to be an intermission. Then they're going to go back and sit and watch more, and then they're going to just leave. During that mission, your mission is to assassinate the person. But they don't really tell you much more than that. You then improvise and make your way into there to figure out how you're going to do it, which is why it's so cool. So there's so many different ways you could have gone about doing it, and I think you get like extra points and bonuses for doing it specific ways. But that's pretty much, from my understanding at least, that's pretty much how Hitman works. Now, I don't know anything about Hitman 3 really. I just saw like a trailer and it looked really interesting. But I couldn't tell you about the new features in this one or anything like that. But yeah, cool game series, and it's been around for a long time. So
I never played them. I never really looked into them. But wait, didn't we have like a Hitman movie that came out?
There was a Hitman movie, yeah. That one dude from The Office was in it.
Dwight Schrute?
Yep, you're right.
Well, actually,
yeah,
was he Hitman?
It was starring Rainn Wilson.
Nice.
No, it was starring Timothy Olyphant.
That sounds familiar.
Yes.
Timothy.
He's in a lot of stuff.
Elephant. Timothy.
Wait, is he not the dude from The Office? I might have my things mixed up.
Oh, I think he was in maybe.
Oh, like, yeah, he's in he plays Danny Cordray in The Office.
One episode, yeah, and then he's in The Mandalorian.
Oh yeah,
he was in.
Yeah, he's in The Mandalorian.
Yeah, that's right. That's the one. That's one.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, sorry. You got more news?
Probably. I'm just thinking about your laugh.
Yeah.
And it was just you were just escalating on your own. You didn't even need me to like riff off of the laugh. You just liked it on your own and just kept going with it.
I guess so, yeah.
What else I've got? I just watched the Godzilla vs Kong trailer before we started the episode.
Yeah. Kong. I like Kong Skull Island a lot. I really like that movie.
Oh, I didn't watch it. Darn.
Wow. Well, then that trailer just spoiled Kong Skull Island.
Oh, did it actually? Okay.
No, not really. Kong Skull Island is one of those movies that just like really doesn't take itself seriously, and like for the better. It's just a better movie because it doesn't take itself seriously. So it's fun and it's interesting. Now Godzilla, I think, takes itself too seriously, and that's why it's not as interesting. Now I haven't seen the newer Godzilla. I hear it's better, so I want to watch that. But this Kong versus Godzilla, I'm excited for. Like I'm legit excited.
Me too, probably. Even though I haven't seen any of those things. Whereas, okay, so
there's 4 movies so far in the series. There's Godzilla, then there's Kong, Skull Island, then there's Godzilla, King of Monsters, and now there's Godzilla versus Kong.
Okay. So let's see. The Godzilla. Wait. The Godzilla that with Bryan Cranston, that is part of this.
That's the starting to it. That's how the
first one. Okay.
Yeah, that's the first one. Because then there's King of the Monsters that came out in 2019.
2019? Is that the one with Millie Bobby Brown?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So
she's actually apparently in this one too.
Yeah. So I noticed her in this one. So I didn't see that one.
This one actually seems to be almost in the vein of being a sequel to King of the Monsters, which is interesting because so far they've all been standalone. So this will be the first time that we actually have like carryover characters, pretty much. There's been like hints of carryover stuff, but not actual carryover. Anyways, now that we're actually having characters go from one movie to the next, so that's interesting.
Cool. Okay.
Go.
Things to look forward to. So yeah, I guess not knowing the previous two movies that would have led up to this, like Kong Skull Island and then and the 2019 Godzilla one. I don't know how much I need to know about that, but I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like you could probably just watch any of these movies standalone. You're probably fine.
Yeah. Okay. So then watching this trailer, it looked kind of looked fun. I liked actually seeing today's technology with these two gigantic beasts fighting.
Exactly. That's all it is. You just want to see these things fight. That's really all it is. You don't care about the people all that much. You don't really need to know. The story doesn't have to make that much sense. You just want to see two creatures fight each other.
Yeah. So for the most part, I enjoyed the trailer. The only thing I didn't like was just at the very end of the trailer. Do you remember? Like you watched the trailer, right?
Is that when Donkey Kong had his whole arms up and he did a whole bashing down onto Godzilla's laser beam or something?
Yeah, so Donkey Kong is holding up Link's shield, Zelda's shield.
Link's
shield. The mirror shield. And Godzilla is apparently aiming right at the shield the whole time that Donkey Kong is on the ship or on land, and then jumps up, and the trajectory of Godzilla's beam still follows the shield. Why is that? I hate it when stuff like that happens. You know, things that really don't make sense. Like this happened. Mm-hmm. I can think of one. Thor Ragnarok. When what's his name? What's the Ragnarok guy's name?
Surtur.
He's shooting flames down at Thor. Thor is he's waving Mjolnir. He's spinning it, and then when Thor, he breaks the flame by whipping it away, but that doesn't break Surtur's concentration of shooting the fire, right?
Yes.
This is one of those moments. It doesn't make sense that Godzilla would be aiming right at the shield where Donkey Kong wants to reflect it.
Yeah.
Godzilla should be shooting it everywhere else but that. So why? I don't know.
Yeah.
Am I being really
Anth0z, it looks cool. That's why they did it.
Does it look
cool,
I
honestly, I don't know. I have no idea. You're right. It probably doesn't make much sense, but whatever.
Yeah.
We'll get to see
all right.
Yeah.
And I will get to. Oh no! Wait. Well. Oh,
I think it's later on this year, right?
It says 2021. Experience it in IMAX, Dolby Cinema, but also see it in theaters and on HBO Max at no extra cost to subscribers. But I have a feeling that the HBO Max applies only to American people. Because I think that's what it was for Wonder Woman 1984.
Yeah.
It said HBO Max, but it wasn't available for Canadian HBO Max, the same date that it was in the US. So it'll probably be the same.
Well, then I will have to get it in other means.
Well, that's what VPNs are for.
True.
Yeah.
So there's another movie called Raya and the Last Dragon.
Oh yeah.
Which is a new Disney film. Do you know more about this movie? I just watched the trailer.
I watched the trailer a while back and I totally forgot what it was about because I think I got excited that it was something that it wasn't.
Yeah, I think I was expecting Frozen or Tangled, and then when I watched the trailer, I was getting more Kung Fu Panda almost. You know?
Oh, I think I was expecting something a little bit more. For some reason, culturally Japanese, but feudal Japan.
Feudal Japan. You want Edo Japan?
Yeah, kind of. I don't know why I was getting that vibe in the beginning, and then it turned out to not be that at all. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. It is kind of like that. I think it is trying to go for some ancient thing, but it's not necessarily that.
Because when I look
it's almost like bringing the ancient stuff to the modern day.
Oh,
almost.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. When I look at this, I kind of feel like Moana meets How to Train Your Dragon.
Yes. But you're right. Yeah. Yeah, that's the Moana. Yeah, you're right.
And I don't know, I enjoyed Moana.
Moana.
How to Train. What was that? Oh, the way you sang that reminded me of the weekly podcast. Because you're Moana, Moana, we love you.
Moana, only one day away. They're my here right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, Moana. There's a song in Little Mermaid. I think it's oh no, it's Kiss the Girl.
Kiss
it's
the girl.
You want to kiss the girl.
Sha-la-la-la-la-la.
Yeah. Where there's a moment where it goes, I wanna kiss the girl. And
I
wanna.
And says, go on then.
Moana. Oh,
girl.
it sounds like he's saying Moana, so I always go Moana. And then it's I realized that it's similar themes.
Did you say that before the Moana movie came out, though?
No, never.
Oh, okay.
Never.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Let's move on. Yeah, Raya and Last Dragon. I don't know much about it. I saw a trailer. It looked very... I don't know. I probably won't see this movie, to be honest.
I probably will have it in the background, maybe while I'm washing dishes at some point.
Well, I still have never seen Moana, so based on that, I probably won't see this.
You know, okay, Moana is kind of cute. It's a fun movie to watch. I would say, just give it a shot.
It actually doesn't look bad. I just haven't even got around to seeing Moana yet, so that's why I know I won't see Raya in The Last Dragon.
If anything, you're watching it for hearing The Rock sing.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah. For some, it doesn't sound musical the way he sings it, but I love the way he sings it.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
He's kind of like speak singing, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so moving on. There is also new news that's hitting everybody right now, hitting everybody's threshold. But I think people are making a much bigger deal about this than it really is. But they're talking about this new Harry Potter television series for HBO.
Ooh.
It's confirmed that HBO has the rights to make a Harry Potter series and will most likely go ahead with those rights to start making one.
Is this the one that... Yeah, go on. Sorry.
That's all that got confirmed. That's it.
Oh, okay.
That's all the news is. But I'm seeing a lot of headlines where people are talking about, oh, Harry Potter is getting redone as an HBO series, or the new HBO series for Harry Potter is gonna pad out the Harry Potter universe and all this stuff. But it's like, we don't know yet what it is at all. They don't even know. They don't even have writers on it yet. So.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I thought I heard something recently, but it might have been just like random like conspiracies or whatever, but that the next set of Harry Potter movies are supposed to take place like way before even Fantastic Beasts, like just completely different. Or was I thinking of something else? Maybe it was like
I feel like they would have to do that if they wanted to do a Harry Potter thing. I feel like they would have to. Yeah. Although I would love to see a Harry Potter remake entirely on TV. We've talked about this many times before, but I would love to see a whole remake done. Season 1, that's book 1. Season 2, that's book 2. I think they could totally do that.
Yeah, get more look into
it sucks because I really like all the actors they had in the original show, but I would love to see it all redone.
I don't know why I just thought of this. This would be kind of cool, or maybe just a little bit too chaotic. But if there was a like a podcast or an audiobook series where each book, like there will be 4, it starts off as 4 books, and each audiobook is strictly what happens in that house. So everything is from their perspective.
Oh, wow.
And so then when they have interactions with other houses, it's still from their perspective. So like it's their own
cool.
It's their own kind of like emotions on top of what's happening.
Yeah.
So you'll have like a meeting with like Harry Potter and like somebody from Hufflepuff, and then it's told from Harry Potter's point of view of it, and like oh they were kind of cool, and then the Hufflepuff person is like, oh, this Harry's kind of a dick. I don't think I want to hang with him anymore, right? I don't know. It's kind of random, but that could be kind of cool.
That would be cool. That's the stuff I like in Harry Potter, so I think it'd be more interesting to see that kind of mundane stuff. What?
When Harry's a dick.
No, just the mundane Hogwarts lifestyle. That's more what I get into, so.
Yeah.
So you did remind me, this might have been what you were talking about instead. Amazon's Lord of the Rings, they now officially came out with the storyline to Lord of the Rings and what they wrote and the actors that are portraying people and whatnot. Unfortunately, I think the actor that was going to be portraying Sauron is now not going to be portraying Sauron, so we don't really know. But they came up with their synopsis, and it's going to be taking place during the Second Age of Middle-earth, so it's a long time before the events of the Ring, which is all in the Third Age of Middle-earth.
Oh, okay.
So they also announced that Sauron will be the villain, and this is Sauron in the Second Age when he was known as like the bringer of gifts, because he was just he's kind of like a fair-looking character with like white hair and all of that, more like an elf. Even though he has evil intentions, people don't know this yet. So he's kind of giving gifts to men and elves and all that. Not the rings yet, but he's giving gifts to them and becomes known as like this lighter presence, I guess. Okay. So that's more what the show's going to be about. It's going to be talking about that. It's going to talk about the island of Numenor, which is where the Numenorean kings came from. And it's going to go into elven lands. I believe Elrond will be in there. It'll also probably have Celebrimbor, who's the elf that created the ring.
Oh, cool.
So Sauron created... It's Sauron's ring, but Celebrimbor actually wrought the ring in Mordor with him, so he actually created it with the blacksmith hammer and all that.
Okay.
So, anyways, we're probably gonna have some pretty interesting storylines and all that kind of stuff, and some characters we kind of know, like Elrond, will be around. We might even get like, oh my god, like a Isildur eventually, who eventually is the one who cuts off the ring's hand. So it's essentially, I guess, what the show is gonna do is it will most likely end with the lead up into the prologue of the Lord of the Rings that we see at the beginning of the Lord of the Rings movie.
Yeah, so I was gonna
feel
ask
like that's where it'll end.
So that prologue, is that actually a depiction of the Third Age still? Or would that
I
be a
don't
depiction
know
of
the
Second
transition. I wish I did, but I have no idea
Okay.
when the transition is. But I'm assuming that's the Third Age because Sauron is already donned with the armor and all that, and
Yeah.
he's more spiritual in that essence at that time. So, Sauron has all his power and everything. I would assume that is already transitioned to the Third Age, but I could be wrong. That might be the end. That might be the transition right there from the second to the third. But that's definitely the beginning of the War of the Ring. That's when Sauron creates the ring. So, all of that is taking place in the Third Age. So I would venture a guess that that's Third Age. Regardless, I feel like the show will most likely end with some kind of, almost like Revenge of the Sith. It'll end with some kind of like lead up into what we already know as a regular.
It's so funny that you said that, because as I was thinking about him, like Sauron getting his finger cut off, I was immediately thinking of Anakin getting his limbs cut off. Oh, is he like the Darth Vader of Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, pretty much, except for I don't think we're going to see any kind of like Sauron being a good guy. I think he'll be evil throughout the whole show as well.
Yeah.
He'll look fair, but speak foul, I guess.
Maybe that was Anakin the whole time.
Maybe. What I'm a little bit afraid of at this point is that they're going to be kind of making Game of Thrones out of Lord of the Rings, and I really hope they don't. Some of the best things about Lord of the Rings is the unknown, is the what you don't know, because there's so much more history and story that is just beyond what the context of what you're getting.
Yeah.
And why Lord of the Rings succeeds is because it's based on this short, tiny little story that's happening in a much, much broader universe.
Okay.
But when you start trying to world build, if you do like a Mandalorian-esque thing for Lord of the Rings, unfortunately, I feel like you're going to start to find the holes in the world. The best thing about the world is that we don't know about it, so that's why it's good. So your mind fills the blanks in. But once you start filling those blanks in and say, like, this is what happened, this is canon, eventually we're going to find things that we're not going to like. I think, at least. So I'm worried that's where they're going. We'll see.
I kind of see what you're saying. Like, the way that I'm picturing Lord of the Rings versus Game of Thrones anyway, the way that they have, like, I know, like, it's hard to compare movie versus TV show, but in terms of Lord of the Rings and, like, The Hobbit, for me, the storytelling is very more, like, it's just, like, I just say fantasy is just, like, the overlining word, but when I think of Game of Thrones, there is fantasy aspect to it, but I find it's just a little bit, I don't know, like, I don't want to say gritty.
I get gritty. It's got this realism factor where it doesn't feel as far-fetched from our regular life.
I guess, yeah, I think that's, yeah, maybe that is because when we're watching the movie, we're also just seeing, like, okay, how are all these people just related to the overall story? But then with Game of Thrones, we get a much deeper look into each individual, and that probably takes away from the overall story and more just like, here, connect with the characters more than the story, so that way when they die you feel it, kind of thing. Yeah. So yeah, I agree. I think if they're gonna go for this reboot or retelling or new story for Lord of the Rings, I agree.
It's gonna be uncharted territory. There's no script, there's nothing, so they're kind of writing it from the get-go, it sounds. So
yeah, it would be nice if it's more fantasy-like, I'd say, and less Game of Thrones-like.
I hope it is larger than life fantasy. I would love to see that. I don't think they'll do it, but I would love to see that. Yeah. Anyways, so that's all we really know about that. And I think that's all our news, unless, do you have more?
Nope, that's the news.
That's the news! Well, that was awesome. We successfully talked about news for a long time, and the reason why is because I don't have a topic for today. I was supposed to have a topic ready, and I didn't do my homework, so I don't have a topic. Now, Anth0z has graciously offered to come up to a Raj Al Ghul topic. So, I don't know. Do you want to go over your topic now?
Nah.
All right. Then we won't go into the topic.
Okay. So I've been reading this book.
Hey, topic number one!
Well, actually, I finished reading the book. I went through it pretty quickly because I just borrowed it from the library. And I don't read fast, but I have a 21-day limit, so I had to get through it.
You have to read it within 21 days.
Had to read it. And so it's Greenlights by Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I know a bit about this book. Cool.
Okay.
I listened to his Joe Rogan interview, listened to his Hot Ones interview, and listened to his Jordan Peterson interview. and all of them are about the book. So
Okay,
this is
so
perfect.
I'm halfway through the Jordan Peterson interview, which I find interesting. Like I don't really listen to a lot of interviews.
Okay.
I've listened to like a few with Joe Rogan here and there, and maybe some others, but not usually on the topic of like a book per se. It's usually just like mentality or like lifestyles. But this is kind of they're kind of picking apart the book, but also picking apart his mindset.
For sure.
At least that's what I get from it, right? So,
Jordan Peterson's more of a psychologist. So the interview is
That's
more
right.
like watching him going through a psychology lesson than it is an actual interview. It's quite interesting. Jordan Peterson asks really interesting questions that other interviewers would not ask. So
yeah, and I really like that, because I find some of those questions, they're not the typical things you find in casual conversation, because of the kind of barriers that you might feel like you're trying to break down by asking that kind of question.
Exactly.
I guess because he's a psychologist, he kind of has these liberties that he can take. Like, I'm a psychologist. This is what I think of. So why did you do this, kind of thing, right? Like,
Exactly.
That's just like a very brief and stripped down version of what they're doing. But I am enjoying it.
And Matthew McConaughey, I gotta hand it to him, is open-minded enough to be totally fine with those kinds of questions. He's a very down-to-earth person. The more I listen to him, the more I realize that I like him. He's very influential. I think he's a very influential person, and he's very motivating. So,
I agree. I think when I heard, I can't pick questions out of my head right now, but when I did hear some, I thought like, oh, whoa, did he just like what did he kind of just like condescend what Matt was talking about in a way? But no, like Matt, I'm calling him Matt as if like we're tight bud, but Matthew, Mr. McConaughey, just takes it for what it is. Like, just this is your perspective, and this is how you talk, and this is just my answer, and it's very I don't want to say unemotional, because obviously there are emotions put forth to like what he wrote about, but the responses to what he's asking, it's not emotional. It's just strictly like, okay, well, yeah, this is what it is, right? And it's just no harm done, no foul.
So if you want a much more emotional style of it, the Joe Rogan interview with him is good, because I'd say it's more the audience Matthew McConaughey's used to. So when he's talking to Joe, he's definitely just talking as Matthew McConaughey for sure, and he says some really interesting things in that interview. But it's just that Joe Rogan is more playful in nature when doing an interview, so it's more uplifting and playful, while it's the Jordan Peterson one is much more groundbreaking, I think, and it's also extremely influential in a completely different way. It's like, it's very motivating for the kind of person you want to be, while the Joe Rogan one is more just like appreciating the kind of person you are, I guess.
Yeah, I can see that. Because with the psychology, with Jordan Peterson, it's more like unraveling.
Yes.
Like the why.
Exactly.
Kind of, right? Yeah. So for those who aren't familiar with this book, I'll just read a brief synopsis for it. Synopsis by Matthew McConaughey. It's a collection of Matthew McConaughey's journals from the past 36 years. He had put off delving into these journals for many years. However, he decided it was finally the time to take himself and the journals to a desert with no electricity. Here's where he wrote Greenlights. By rereading the thousands of pages held in these journals, McConaughey relived the core values that brought him success and happiness. Greenlights is filled with people and experiences, and is described by McConaughey as an aspirational book. So when he wrote this book, I think when you read like the first couple pages, he says this is it's not like a self-help book. It's not a book that's trying to make you better. It's not one of those, you're not trying to read it for the sake of like, oh, this is going to make me a better person. That's not what his purpose is for writing it. Yeah. His purpose is really just, these are my experiences. This is what I took from it. Enjoy. And like that, and that's what it is.
It's in similar nature, and I don't want to get too introspective here or anything like that, but it's similar in nature to something like Marcus Aurelius' Meditations, which is a famous book that lots of people go through as philosophy, but it's a book that was his own journal, his own thoughts, his own quotes, things that he just wrote down. And it was never intended to be a book that people read. But now so many people have been inspired by it that it's a famous book that we all can read and find like a nice quote here or there, or a nice saying here or there, or a nice thought here or there about something, and we get something from it. It's so funny how it's so big. Now, I'm not saying Matthew McConaughey is as influential as Marcus Aurelius, but it's the same concept. He's just writing down his thoughts and how he got to where he was and the things that were going through his mind at that time, and it's extremely motivating to somebody who might have these similar kind of thoughts, or might be like, oh, okay, it does get better, or just whatever they are feeling when they're reading what he's saying. So I think it's similar in vein to that, I guess. So I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, that's true. Okay, you said he had an interview with Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson, and what was the third one?
Oh, Hot Ones, which is just the hot wing thing.
Yeah. Okay. I'd be interested to see how that goes.
Yeah, that was funny. I like that.
So, I mean, without giving away what he talks about, I can just kind of be as general as possible. But, so, yeah, he has these journals that he's been keeping for pretty much the majority of his life. And he goes through some very interesting things that I wouldn't really picture, like, most people I know in my circles going through. So I don't know if it has to do with, the times that he grew up, or the fact that, or how he grew up in that environment. I mean, I'm sure tons of factors will play a part in why he does what he does, but he, without giving away too much, he literally follows his dreams. So he has a couple dreams, and for him, it's trying to tell him that there's something he needs to do in life, and so he actually goes. He seeks out what happened in his dream. So say he has a dream that takes place in, or that he thinks takes place in, like, South Africa. So he travels to South Africa, and he has the same dream, and he realizes another aspect of it is like, oh, he was on the Amazon River, so he traveled to the Amazon River. And so these are just like a couple of things that, and you'll find out what happens when he's there along the way, and what he learns about being a part of the cultures there, or or a lot of things. But it's interesting that I guess what I'm taking from this is he put himself in a lot of these situations. It wasn't like he all of a sudden just happened to be in them, but he put himself in those situations, and from that he was able to gain so much that he ended up appreciating. Like, he went on this exchange, I can't remember if it was I think maybe it was while he was studying for law school or something, and decided to do an exchange and get some experience. So he traveled to Australia and lived with this very, I guess, like, they're very minimalist. I don't know if that's the word, but they're kind of like an Amish. They sounded like an Amish family sort of thing. Like, they just they just weren't very in tune with, like, modern values and stuff like that. So he endured that, and but anyway, it's interesting. Like, he's also the kind of person who is because he is morally, if he agrees to something, he sticks to it. And and I think that's something. So my topic actually isn't meant to be his book specifically, but it's more just about values, and the idea of how to keep growing and how to keep learning. And the reason why I've been thinking about that lately is because I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast that we're having a baby, which means a lot of life changes in all aspects, right? But I didn't want, or I also want to be sure that at the same time, like, I'm going to be, and my wife will be, learning a lot as we are becoming parents, and as we're raising a child and maybe children in the future, that we're constantly learning. We're constantly being put in different situations that will challenge us and test us, and it's up to us, like, what we want to do with those tests and challenges. Do we want to just stick to what we've always been doing and just say, like, oh, that's fine, like, I don't need to do anything different because I'm happy the way I am, or is it more beneficial for trying to change your mentality or adjust it enough that you will keep growing because everything else is changing, and can you stay can you actually stay afloat with the environment that's changing if you're not changing yourself? So so there's a lot of stuff to unpack there, but I'm still in the middle of trying to figure out, like, what it means for me to keep moving forward in my life. I don't know, have you ever...
It's like the Rocky line. It's hard to get hit and keep moving forward.
Well, exactly. I think that's a really
good line.
It's a very motivational like speech that he had, right?
I know, I love that.
it applies to so many things, because it's not just about boxing, but it's about, you can get hit in so many different aspects. You get a hit in your job, and
Yes.
you gotta, what are you gonna do about it? Are you just gonna quit, or are you gonna move forward? And how are you gonna move forward?
Yes.
And then when you get hit in life, maybe somebody really close to you dies. How do you get over it? Do you get over it? What do you do to get over it, right? So,
well, that's what I found just listening to Matthew McConaughey. And yeah, not necessarily just about the book, and I haven't read the book, but just listening to him in general, I found him extremely motivating just because of that. He has that, I don't know, carefree nature about him, but when I normally meet somebody who's got carefree nature, I see it as immature, or I see it as somebody who is going to make mistakes. And as someone who tries not to make mistakes, or somebody who thinks that they make little mistakes, to me, I think that they're not thinking as much. I'm like, oh, they're just dumb because they're going to make a bunch of mistakes, and then they're going to have to learn, and they're going to have to start from ground zero again. But then when Matthew McConaughey explains it, I realize that actually I'm the one missing out. I'm not trying new things. I'm not trying to challenge myself more than I should be, And so his carefree nature is also got this weird grounded rule set that he explains a little bit. That he's got this kind of carefree rule set to keep him within bounds while he's being carefree.
Yeah.
And when I hear it that way, I'm like, oh my god, there's so much I'm missing out on because I'm not being like that, And it's very motivating to try to have more of that kind of unhinged nature about yourself, so that you can then look back on yourself and see, what can I change? How can I be better? How can I, well, as you had put it earlier, but how can I achieve my dreams realistically? How can I just say, like, oh, I think this is what I need to do, I'm just gonna do it. It's hard to do that. It's not hard to, the hardest thing isn't just stepping out the front door and doing it, right? The hardest thing is realizing it. That's the hardest thing, because you're in a rut but you don't know it. So it's hard to step outside of yourself and then see that rut and then go, okay, now I'll make the change. And that's why usually we don't make those kinds of changes until we hear it from someone else. Because we don't even see it. And then we hear it from someone else, and then we go, oh, maybe it's me. And it takes a while. And you also put a guard up a lot. So when someone tells you that, sometimes you don't even listen. Or you are listening and you know they're right, but you don't do anything about it.
You're just stubborn.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we're all guilty of it at some point here or there, but it just is how it is. But when I hear from Matthew McConaughey, it's like, oh man, like, I want to just say he got lucky. I want to just say he's a good-looking guy. He just went to Hollywood and he became famous. But at the same time, it's like, nope, there is a perseverance there. There is some kind of drive that gets him going, and there is a willingness to make mistakes that, if I had more of that, I'm sure I would have more success in some of the things I might be jealous of that he has success for. So
yeah, I think it's definitely possible that he, because he's put himself in situations where he ended up making mistakes, that he could learn from it, and then it just works for him. Obviously, everybody's lives are going to lead them in different paths, and but I think the underlying thing is that the motivation to, well, the realization and the motivation to actually make some sort of forward motion. So
progression.
Progression. Like, I was trying to think back to something that he did mention, because I know that he talked about having it was in the beginning when he started his acting career. So I think one of his first ones, like, he did a lot of improv, and it just worked for him because he was just like so comfortable with the character, and and he just went with it. And then later on, a similar character or a similar kind of experience came up, and he said, I'm just gonna do what I did before. But that just, it didn't work whatsoever. It just totally went the opposite way, and he just didn't understand why. Or I think he took time to reflect afterwards. So he was kind of in that moment of like, screw it, I'm not gonna conform to, I'm sure it's not exactly like this, but screw it, I'm not gonna do this way, I'm just gonna stick to my usual way, and that's gonna get me what I need. But because this was not the exact same situation, or because it was something that was later on in life that required different skills or knowledge or whatever, he realized, oh crap, my old way doesn't work anymore. I actually have to make something different. I have to adapt. And I think, I guess, like, that's something that we're going to be facing all the time, right? Like, adapting to this and that. And part of why I wanted to bring this up was because lately, I have been thinking for myself, how do I keep learning and growing, not just for the baby, but just like in general as a person, because I I did find that I was finding myself just very kind of getting comfortable. I guess comfortable is the word. Like I'm content with how things are with like certain aspects of my life. I don't know, say like I'm content with just hypothetically, say I'm content with work. So I don't want to do anything to change it, and it just like goes along. But the thing is, like, work for me is actually, you know, it's starting to get to the point where like, oh, I actually have to do something different.
Yeah.
So if I'm telling myself like, oh, I'm fine the way I am dealing with work, then that's like one attitude that is not going to get me very far. And then I'm actually going to have to tell myself, oh, you know what I thought was content was actually just like a momentary thing where it worked for a while, but now I actually have to make a change. Otherwise, like, I'm just going to be stressed and unhappy because I can't, like, because my old ways aren't enough to satisfy these new challenges. So yeah, I don't know, do you ever have these moments where you're just thinking like, oh, what do I have? Because you and your fiance worked on a shed, and you worked on some other stuff. You did you were doing some plotting and stuff, right? I feel like you were doing some garden work.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like,
last year,
yeah, like you moved into a house. You didn't just keep it like I'm sure like a house as is great, but then you thought, oh no, well, you know what? I think what's gonna make this better is having a shed, and what's gonna make this better is having a garden and stuff.
Yeah, right? we first thing we wanted was to fence the yard, so we spent a good portion of the year building the fence and putting the fence up, digging the post holes, building the whole fence, and getting the whole thing fully fenced. And the reason why was because we were getting a dog, and we did that. We made sure it was done, and we did it. Now. I am very fortunate to have someone like my fiance who is very motivating and is constantly trying to improve and to make better. So because of that, it helps me stay on that track a lot. Yeah. But I'm guilty of so much of it as well. There's many times when I am afraid of failure and don't want to improve, don't want to get better because I don't want to look dumb. And that's my biggest hurdle, is to get over that, because you don't learn until you push yourself. So it's funny you talk about work, because I recently had an experience where at my job, I got very complacent with the job I had because I was the only employee with that job title. So when I was doing my work, it was done to a certain level, and it was always done that way because that was as good as it could be, and I couldn't see out of a lot of errors. So I couldn't see out of a lot of situations. So it could only be done this one way. And I fell into that really quickly without even knowing it. And then now we've hired another guy who has the same title as me, and he's helping me out with a lot of things. And the two of us are working really well together because we can bounce ideas off of each other quite nicely. And I find myself catching myself going down the wrong rabbit hole sometimes at work because he's around. Because he's around, I'm second guessing a lot of stuff I'm doing, or I'm double checking my work a lot more than I was. And it's helping me so much. So I'm probably learning at a much faster rate now at work because I have him with me. And he's learning as well, obviously, but it's just the power of two is so much better than the power of one in that moment because I'm just new perspective. But if you told me that back before, when I was the only one there, I don't think I would have listened. I don't think I would have fully understood how much you can adapt and change and get better. But there's always room for improvement. And it sounds so cliche, but it's cliche for a reason. There just always is room for improvement. And if you just stop and think, what can I do to make this better, there's going to be many things that you eventually can do, and you'll come out happier for it.
Yeah. I'm in a similar position, like, at least in terms of my wife. Like, she definitely calls me out for a lot of stuff. And then
that's the sign of a good wife.
She's not afraid to call me out when, which is it's good. I think like I would get to a point where like, oh, there's so many things I got to work on, but that's it. There are so many things I got to work on. Like it's and
you're not dead.
Exactly. So I'm thankful for her being able to be upfront with me about that. I have a hard time doing that for other people. I think just because of the way I've grown up. I don't know. I just feel it's like I feel bad, but it's like it's not the same kind of feel bad as in, you know, if you were to be like, you can feel bad for saying somebody needs to work on something, or you can feel bad for not helping somebody improve, right? Which is the one that you want to, which is the route you want to take. So I've also so I finished reading Greenlights. I also started reading The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F.
Oh yeah. I haven't read that one, but it's always suggested to me.
Yeah, me too. And so I've only read the first part so far, and what kind of applied to me actually today it was for work as well, because it was that thing that you mentioned as well, that it's like that fear of failure, or fear of looking dumb when
Yes.
you're trying to do something like to improve or to change.
Why
or something, right?
try if you could fail because you might look dumb? Is the mentality, right?
Exactly. So so usually my mentality is I will do a whole bunch of research on my own and try to come up with some sort of answer on my own, and then bring that answer to other people. So it's like a mixture of like trying to be super prepared, but also trying to just figure it out for myself without getting anybody else's help.
Right.
So I needed to call to get some quotes on stuff like for work, and normally I would take forever getting to the point where I'm actually ready to call. But today I was like, I kind of took the mentality that I'm getting from the subtle art book. It's not so just to briefly paraphrase that the author says that this, like, the art of not caring isn't about being indifferent, but it's just like prioritizing what you care about and how, I hope I'm saying this right, but also how you like how much effort you put into the things that are important to you. So it's like it's really figuring out what your principles and morals are. Like, what do you really care about, and then also what are you willing to take flack for versus what are you not willing to take flack for.
Right.
And so anyway, yeah, so today, rather than just doing a whole bunch of research, I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna call. I don't care how stupid I sound. I just want to get an answer from these professionals,
Right.
because I feel like it's just going to be better for me in the long run to just feel like, yeah, it's okay to look dumb and ask for help from people that obviously know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Why should I make myself feel like I have to get on their level before I can talk to them or something, which is like, that's too much. So yeah, I hope that's something that I can keep up, like because if I'm not really able to, I guess I'm humbling myself in that way, just just knowing that I'm not capable and knowing that somebody else is and reaching out to them.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that that's something that I can continue to do, because I think that makes life a bit easier, right? Just knowing that you knowing that there are other sources that are helpful, knowing that there are other people that have the answers that you need, that there's nothing wrong with asking them, and if they help you, and then great, it all works out. Kind of reminds me of a quote from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, where it was Will and Uncle Phil talking about how Will didn't want to ask Uncle Phil for help because he just wanted him to know that, like, he was like a capable, independent man, basically.
Yeah.
And Uncle Phil's like, I open doors for you just like people open doors for me. Like, nobody in life goes through like their whole life doing it all on their own. Like, that's not, that's just too much for each person, right? So yeah, there's the kind of like mentalities that I hope that I can like keep very strong, because I think they're very powerful mentalities. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're larger than all of us. They're there. They're hard for us to fully grasp sometimes, and yet we all know them. I don't know, it's weird. So sometimes when you hear somebody, an influencer, like someone like Matthew McConaughey, who can then say it in a very generic way that we can understand, then we get it. We get these glimpses of the person that we want to be sometimes. Mm-hmm. And yeah.
I guess like what I've come to, well, I mean, I've realized it over and over again, and I kind of just fall back and kind of go back and forth, but just realizing that like I need to, there's always going to be something that I will need to change, and I'm not going to be the exact same person for my whole life, because
and thank God, right? I mean, it's good. It's good to always be improving. It's good to always change. You want to look back on the last 10 years of your life and know that you've made a difference. For yourself and for others. But yeah, you always want to know that, like, what have I improved on in these 10 years? What has made me a different person, and what has made me better? Mm-hmm. Or what can I improve on to be better for the next 10 years?
Yeah. Actually, that's a really important thing to note, like the idea of looking back, and not just ahead. Like exactly, look back to look ahead, because if you're always looking forward, you're not really thinking about like what are the things that made you even get to this point now that are going to propel you to the next steps, right? So looking back to see what changes you actually made to come out on top or to make things better. So good point.
Cool.
Anyway, yeah, just a little bit of what's going on in my head lately, but
I like it. That's
yeah.
the stuff that I really like. That when we first started this podcast, that's what I was much more into talking about, was actual real stuff. Real self-improvement. There's some
Real
good
stuff.
value out of that.
Yeah, not that MCU stuff that we say for the other podcasts.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, no, these are I think these are good things for everybody to keep in mind.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you. I think you've probably influenced me tonight, and maybe by tomorrow I'll be thinking about it, being like, yeah, you know what? Let's try harder. You know?
Nice. Tomorrow I'm just gonna be like, I'm fine the way I am. I'm gonna stay in bed and realize, like, oh nope, I gotta get up and I got work to do and I gotta make a change. Yeah.
Well, yeah, probably.
Yeah. Well, thanks for humoring me with my topic.
Thank you for the topic. I'm sorry I didn't bring one. I'll try to bring one next time.
Sure.
Okay.
If not, I will have another book under my sleeve and we'll talk about that.
Awesome. I'm reading Da Vinci Code. It's not as inspiring, so.
But still fun. I like those books. The Dan Brown series, they're fun.
Yeah, this is my first Dan Brown. I've never read Dan Brown.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I read the. I think Da Vinci Code wasn't the first Robert Langdon.
Yeah, I actually misspoke. I'm reading Angels and Demons, the first one, but I'm going through the series. So.
Or yeah, Da Vinci Code came out first, but Angels and Demons is actually a prequel, even though it came out after.
I think the book came first, though. The book Angels and Demons is the first book, and then Da Vinci Code is the second book. But the movies did the Da Vinci Code first. I think that's how it goes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyways. Cool. That's all she wrote, folks. So thank you so much for listening. Anth0z, where can the audience find you?
Well, if you want to find me, you can find me on Twitter still. I think I'm there. Yep, pretty sure. At Anth0z1. That's at ANTH0Z1.
And if you want to find me, you can also find me on Twitter, although I feel like I haven't posted there in a little while. I definitely forgot to put the last couple episodes onto Twitter, so I will try to remind myself to do that. So, you can find me there, Mattbrush Gaming. You can also find this very podcast in video format on YouTube at Mattbrush Gaming as well. You can just type in the Scumm Bar Podcast, and you'll find us on any of your favorite podcasting platforms or on YouTube as well. We're available everywhere. Everywhere you want us to be available, we are there. I promise you.
Oh, and you mentioned things are changing potentially. With
I don't know if this is a big deal at all. We host our podcast through Anchor, and Anchor recently got purchased by Spotify, which is fine. We have our podcast on Spotify. So everything seems totally fine there, but we might have to make changes in the future if Spotify changes anything there. So we're going to go back and forth on a few emails and figure out what's going on there. But as far as right now, everything's still peachy keen. So
yeah, but see, companies change, and we might have to change too, and that's just how it is.
That's how it is. It's how the cookie crumbles.
That's sometimes. How the cookie crumbles. Yeah, exactly.
Anth0z, I believe you had a little speech prepared.
When looking back at your crumbs of life, don't forget to leave crumbs for others to follow in your footsteps. That's how the cookie crumbles.
Oh, it crumbles because you're leaving the... Okay, yeah, very introspective.
It's a proactive crumbling.
Ah, nice.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Anth0z.
No problem.
All right, everybody, thank you so much.